From Karachi to Mumbai.
To Bombay?
Mumbai.
That's what? What is the city, Bombay? ये कहाँ से आ गया?
It was Bombay and is now Mumbai.
But you just made up your own name again. You're just doing this all the time. What is Bombay?
No, but see, the thing
No,
about it.
I've lost my mind completely now because Bombay has distracted me.
Which is the song?
Muqaddar Ka Sikandar.
Correct.
Title track.
Yeah.
Idiot.
Sing it, no?
Hey, Muqaddar! Right, no? Right or not? Somewhat right.
What about the clothes that people wear for...
Really? That's what you get out of sport?
No.
I mean, you watch your athletes and you're like, lovely pants. I'm just asking.
Okay, tell me one thing, okay? So they...
We haven't done that, but we'll take your suggestion.
But interesting.
Yes.
I'm curious to know.
It is.
From white clothes to colored clothes, but never short pants. Why?
Never short pants. It's an excellent point. And I'll tell you why. The basic reason is it's an English game and it's played in the summer in England, where the summer is like Uttarakhand in the winter. So basically they had to keep the long pants on because of that. Now it's tradition. But it's a good idea. Prithvi, the producer, mark it down. Clothes and the difference in clothes, how colored clothing came in. Why no short pants? Why no cut sleeves? It's so hot in this country, for example. In fact, why not no clothes also? That could be an option. Yeah, less overs, less clothes, that kind of cricket. Yeah. All right, welcome. It's a great show, a show where we're going to discuss many interesting things like Kunal's transition from male to whatever the hell he is going through right now. It may end in some kind of primal beast, but we'll see it all exclusively on this show. Before that, I want to just discuss that IDFC First Bank, who's my closest friend. I'm looking around the room because all of them are sitting here. They brought us together doing two separate shows. I do stories on cricket.
And I do stories on the country.
Yeah, you do stories on the country and beyond. Or is it just the country?
India.
Our idea was to go and get stories which are not there in the contemporary mind. Because today's 8-year-old and 17-year-old, which is sometimes the same person, they don't have an idea of cricket beyond T20. Now, we can't ignore T20, so we have lots of stories about the T20 culture, etc. But I want to keep bringing in, I was very clear about this, the great heroes of the past. And so we find all kinds of nice stories to go to. Even names that you'll remember because you are from what we call the Mangal Pandey generation.
Grew up in another age.
You grew up in Meerut in the 1840s. So you understand what I'm talking about. So we have like the Amarnaths in one episode, a family that produced so many people that played for India, but so many people means, well, 3 of them.
But I actually watched Lala Amarnath commentate on black and white television.
Yeah, he did
when I was very young.
Yes.
With a pipe in his mouth.
Yes. And you know what he used to call Binny, the famous Indian all-rounder?
No, I don't.
He's the guy who called him Rogers Binny. After which everyone used to teasingly call him Rogers Binny, even though his name was Roger Binny. Yeah. So we've got lots of nice stories and we try to revive.
But similarly to your show, the show that I'm hosting is called A Century of Stories. Yeah.
It's all the stories. I felt you cut me. I was doing really well here. I
thought you talked enough and it was time for me to jump in.
It's almost like you're doing an exam and you want to spit out your information. I mean, let's keep it casual,
It's
bro.
a bit like that, yes.
Yeah.
So
we've got a century to talk about. Century of stories.
A century of stories is all about the stories of India.
Right.
So, and they're all the stories that we've learnt about as when we were children. But the chances are we've all forgotten about them. And this reminds you, it brings back stories that we've actually all known.
Is this your excuse in case you forget the story to say that, we forget the story but we revive it again by seeing it?
But it's true. Things that I learned in the first and second standard, I tend to forget. And then you don't know. But
I forget my wife. All the time. I take her shopping, I leave her there, off I go.
I don't think you forget your wife ever. You talk about her all the time.
That's true. But now I've reached a point where that's the only woman for me. Back to IDFC First Bank. I'll put on my voiceover voice every time you want me to say it. So just point to me and I'll go, IDFC
So
First
you're
Bank.
doing Chamchagiri to IDFC First Bank and your wife in the same breath.
And I'm also keeping it a little real and slightly sarcastic. Okay. So I feel that I'm happy at the same time.
Okay.
So I'm balancing two worlds.
You're great.
Is this a vulgar gesture?
I'd completely forgotten how great you are.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you very much. You're like my mirror. All right. Let's go on with your story. What is your story?
So just before I even get into singular stories, the subjects that we cover in the Century of Stories, we meaning me and IDFC First Bank.
Say it with the voiceover.
IDFC First Bank, always you first.
Oh, great. Yes. Excellent. Go ahead.
The stories that we cover are wide-ranging, historical, and they include science, technology, culture, enterprise, entertainment, and sport. We did an episode, say, take entertainment for example.
Right.
We did an episode on R.D. Burman.
Okay.
Okay.
What does R stand for?
Rahul.
D?
Dev.
Excellent. He knows his stuff. Bus, move. Next topic.
Who was his father?
Mr. Burman.
S.D. Burman.
Okay.
Yes,
S stands
Sachin
for?
Dev Burman.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Okay. His father?
Uh,
Abhi band ho gaya?
Dev Burman.
Challenge accepted.
Mr. Dev
Let's go.
Burman.
We'll do this in the old Malayali tradition where you can go back 20,000 generations.
So the great thing about R.D. Burman is that he literally brought in the whole concept of Western musicians, Western instrumentation, and Western arrangement. Okay, C. Ramchandra originally had done it, but with the instruments, with trumpets and saxophones and electric guitars and that kind of instrumentation, he brought it into what we listen to music today. The story is one of the first films that he created music for. Was not under his own name, but he did it for his father.
We just went to all these names. So he did it under SD's names. What is
Yeah, because he used to assist ST.
Okay. Can you sing anything from that?
No, I cannot sing. Let's move on to the next thing. You tell me about your cricket now.
Okay. We did lots of stories, but I'm trying to remember the ones that you'll remember as well. So there's one about the first team that travelled as a cricket team. It wasn't exactly an India team, but it was a team of, do you know who? We've discussed it. The first team from India to go to England to
Parsis.
play. Yeah, an all Parsis team. And that's, there's a second story from that, because the Duke's ball is what was taken by the Duke's cold drink,
people.
the Pandols, who made the cold drinks from the Duke's name. I think it's the same sort of logo as well. All the way back from the Duke's ball. Yeah. Like my story?
Very nice.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Okay.
The other interesting stories we learned was, say, in science, Rakesh Sharma, the first
astronaut
Indian
or cosmonaut, do we say? Because we were very Russia aligned.
into space. So,
I would like to go with cosmonaut. I may be wrong.
doesn't an astronaut have to necessarily land on something? No.
No. Just astronaut was the American thing, and Russians would use the word cosmonaut or word
Then
similar in Russian.
cosmonaut, because the Russians helped us.
Yeah, because they helped us. That's
Yeah.
what. Huh.
Yeah, Rakesh Sharma.
So what else do you know about Rakesh Sharma? Do you know that his son, I think, was my wife's friend?
His son is a
in Rishi Valley.
leading director
Yeah.
in Hindi cinema. He used to be a damn good AD.
Yeah.
And now he is, I think he's directed a film, I'm not sure.
Wow.
But
So we
Rakesh
spun off a
Sharma-
story from a story. So if you watch A Century of Stories, you'll get this story about Rakesh Sharma. But now we spun off a story from there. It's like the birth of a new story.
But the most iconic image of Rakesh Sharma is when they connect directly on via satellite with Indira Gandhi, who was Prime Minister at that point of time. And she asked him a question as, how does India look from up there?
Yeah.
And he said, Sare jahan se acha.
Wow. I thought he would say कि metro abhi tak banaya nahi. Because I mean, I'm waiting for years and it's still the same way. I'm sorry, I killed that moment. That was a beautiful, emotional moment, and I totally killed it. But this is why I'm the wrong fit for this show. After 5 minutes, to keep it sacred is very difficult for me. I don't attend funerals because of this. They take too long, so you can't keep that straight face. After 5-10 minutes, becomes
Now you
hard.
can talk.
Yeah, so there's a story about the ball. For example, do you know how many cricket balls there are? Okay, that's a vulgar question. You know what I mean?
I know there's a red ball, there's a white ball,
Yeah.
there's a pink ball,
Very
there's
good.
a green ball.
So we've done this exploration of how the entire thing started. First, the red ball, how the red ball was made, how much it weighed, this, that, and the other, how it swings more, seams more. Swing is through the air, Baba. Seam is when it hits the pitch.
Okay.
And then seams.
Just
You swing through the air.
goes to show that I need to be watching your show a little
You
more.
must watch my show. You'll understand these rudiments which are important. I make all the important people in my life watch the show. Like Vijay, my watchman, Prakash, who drives the car, Iqbal, who cleans the car. Don't say anything. Don't keep your mouth shut. Okay, so the balls basically, which also the development of cricket, which you can trace with the balls, because there was only test cricket, and then of course white ball comes along somewhere in the 80s, and then you have night cricket because of that, Kerry Packer, etc. I'll talk about Kerry Packer later. And then you go to the pink ball, which is the day-night.
Day-night match.
But what match?
One day.
Again?
Okay.
Try
What?
again. I'm allowed to keep terms. Do it again.
Limited overs.
No. Another one.
Day-night.
Let me explain. Day-night white ball was how it came. Day-night one-day game. That's done. So now why
IPL.
did we get... No. Why did we get the pink ball? For what form? If you could just...
You can help me. I have no
Okay,
idea.
it's not IPL, which is T20. It's not 50 overs, which I explained to you is where the white ball came back in the 80s. So, what is left?
Test.
Bacha?
Why do they play with a pink ball for a test
I mean,
match?
it's not
Because
that
of
long a
day
show.
night.
I'm not even going to tell you because you're not even really interested. But I'm just trying to explain to you that all these balls have shown the evolution of cricket and the different forms that have come with the balls. And then, of course, what they do, the dynamics of each ball is different. But I feel somewhere deep down your sincerity, I'm
What about
not...
the clothes that people wear for?
Really? That's what you
I
get
mean,
out of sport?
no,
I
but-
mean, you watch your athletes and you're like, lovely pants. I'm just
But what-
asking.
Okay, tell me one thing. Okay, so they
We haven't done that, but we'll take your suggestion.
But interesting.
Yes.
I'm curious to know.
It is.
From white clothes to colored clothes, but never short pants. Why?
Never short pants. It's an excellent point. And I'll tell you why. The basic reason is it's an English game and it's played in the summer in England, where the summer is like Uttarakhand in the winter. So basically they had to keep the long pants on because of that. Now it's tradition. So, but it's a good idea. Prithvi, the producer, mark it down, clothes and the difference in clothes, how colored clothing came in, why no short pants, why no cut sleeves. You know, I mean, it's so hot in this country, for example. In fact, why not no clothes also? That could be an option. Yeah, less overs, less clothes, that kind of cricket. Yeah.
Do you also find all traditions in sporting attire or thing all comes out of England? Because the only reason I say is tennis also when you play.
Yeah, so all these games came out of England,
Yeah.
a lot of them that you mentioned, but they've been hijacked by other countries. Cricket is owned by India, and that's another topic we discuss. How well we've grown, how we dominate. 92% of the market is India, basically, or somewhere there. And that's 92% from India, but there are also Indians abroad, which are dominating. You know, if you watch the T20 World Cup, which is going on while we shoot this,
Yeah,
there are
in
Indians
America.
who are American
Yeah.
Indians, not Native American Indians, because so confusing. But Desis, basically, Desis everywhere. Desi Australians will be traveling. Desi Canadians, Desi Americans, all the Indians we don't want back. To stay where you are. We are full, house full, no vacancy. Yeah. So the dominance of India. The game has been hijacked in a sense. I like the word hijacked. I'm going to stay with that. Priti, write that down. We'll do more about the dominance. God, I feel like a great artist. You know, idea aa gaya. Fake though. IDFC First Bank. My favorite people. Did I mention that?
For instance, we
Yes.
did a fabulous episode on the aviation industry of India.
Lovely.
Who started it?
Ratan's grandfather. Great grandfather?
Not
Great grandfather.
Uncle.
Great granduncle.
Uncle, actually, not a great.
Just uncle. No, granduncle.
Yeah. So Ratan's,
1 second. How can be the uncle?
Ratan's father was
GRD.
Naval Tata. Yeah. Ratan's father was Naval Tata.
This will take us 10 minutes. Tracing Parsi genealogy. Stay where you are.
Naval Tata's cousin was JRD Tata.
But Ratan Tata is 2 generations below him.
One generation below.
2.
Wow.
We'll get back to you in Century of Stories. Please watch.
One
to
generation
Clean up
below.
this fact.
Yeah.
Okay. So go on about JRD.
And the fascination for this young man, the fascination of this young man with aeroplanes, and how he flew the first flight
Yeah.
as a postal service from Karachi to Mumbai.
To Bombay.
Mumbai.
That's what? What is the city, Bombay? Ye kahan se aa gaya?
It was Bombay and is now Mumbai.
But you
So
just made up your own name again. You're just doing this all the time. What is Bombay?
No, but see, no, the
No,
thing
now
about it,
I've lost my mind completely now because Mumbai has distracted me. Huh. So
And-
he flew from Karachi with letters to
yes,
deliver.
as a thing,
Yeah.
and I think the aircraft was called the Pussmoth,
PU.
SSMOTH, if I'm not mistaken.
I hide my face until I recover.
Which feat he redid
Huh.
sometime in the 80s when he was over 70 years old.
What are you
he
saying?
Flew it again.
So he
And
sent the
typical-
letters this way to Mumbai from Karachi, and the return letters he took 70 years later. Bro, this is something you guys have to. Your research people are not doing enough work. I feel, as far as I'm concerned.
And so that is what. And
So do you think it should be called Parsi Airlines?
No, it was called Tata Airlines, which then became Air India. Then became Vistara.
But
and now
then
it's
that's
Air
because the
India.
government owned the airline,
Yeah, and that is in the 70s when Morarji Desai nationalized.
right?
No. Oh, sorry? Yeah, it was
I like the way you
nationalized-
said in the 70s, the flamboyance with
No.
yeah, I bought it.
It was nationalized in the 50s.
Tell me more lies with
It was
confidence. I love
national-
lies with confidence. Just
was-
make up things.
It was nationalized. in the
Christopher Columbus is a Pakistani.
It was nationalized in the 50s, but
Right.
Morarji Desai in the 70s, when he became Prime Minister, sacked him
Yeah.
on being chairman of the board.
Why did he sack him?
Because he didn't like J.R.D. Tata.
My God, Moraji, it's really unfair.
Yeah.
This is the man who taxed us 97%, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
I mean, you were
And-
earning.
and-
I was still 2 years old, so.
No, I was not earning at that time. I'm not that old.
Yeah, Kunal. After this show, 2 years more, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah.
Morarji Desai,
So that's a good story.
yeah.
And also for once, I think this is a subject close to your heart because you are very fond of the Tatas and you've studied the Tata market, so to
I am
speak.
an expert on aviation. What are you talking about?
That's true. You do know your flights. Because every time he's gone on a date, he's flown away as quickly as possible. For some reason. Never was able to take it any further. Karachi to Mumbai he did and then he disappeared, in a sense. I'm talking about you here.
No, that was the beginning.
I'm talking about you. It's a metaphor. I'm slipping in the metaphors to make this a more personable discussion. It can't just be about famous people.
Yeah, correct.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know.
So let me tell you a cricket story. So another thing that people don't know is that cricket was an elitist game in the beginning as far as Indians go. Right? If you look now, it's all over the country. Everybody's doing so well. All academies everywhere. I had the Cyrus Says Academy in Panvel, where my friend Rishi, ex-engineer, runs it. And he's never played cricket. He can't even bend and touch his toes. He's very unfit. But it's just great, the way the plethora of academies all across the country. But we go back, it was the royalty that actually started it. They were the first to take it. I mean, you know Ranjit Singh ji, Dilip Singh ji, but there's also not so talented cricketers who were from royalty. The Maharaja of Vizzy, as he was known, Vizyanagaram, Patiala, etc., etc., etc. But watch the show to get the details. But it went from there. Again, see the evolution sociologically. How cricket changed from the rich man's game to now it is the most. I would say common man's game, but it's a game for all. Because rich
played
also
in every gully.
Played in every gully, and rich, poor. It's every class of society. Perhaps the only game in India, other than politics, which is played by every type, every class, every caste, every community.
True.
I mean, except for you and your cousin Rahul Welkar, I don't know anyone who's not played cricket in the history of the world.
And if you finished insulting me...
I didn't feel it was that bad. Yeah. I felt कि ठीक है, ये polite, तमीज़ अगर insult किया तो insult नहीं हो जाता.
Elitism of cricket, you also realize that only certain communities early on played cricket. The Parsis, who were considered the elite, played it.
Correct.
The Pathare Prabhus had their own club.
Okay.
Slowly.
Now he's flexing because he's the Pathare Prabhu. So he's now pushing the Parsis aside and saying, my small community, we also played. We are also rich and anglicized. Daru bhi pita tha. I know where you're going with this. I know where you're going. Huh.
And subsequently, then all those gymkhanas that came up on Marine Drive.
Yeah, but that is because of the Pentangular, where the British sort of encouraged everyone to play according to their religion.
Yeah, correct.
So I think, as usual, it was not completely an Indian idea, so to speak. But then people started playing by the Muslim community, the Hindu community, the Parsi community, the Christian community, and they all got together and made their own gymkhanas in a row in the beautiful part of Mumbai. Or what do you call it? Mumbai. Beautiful part of Mumbai, right across the Arabian Sea, where we grew up.
Yeah.
And but that I think you'll have to go to Hindi films to watch that. Maybe you can do that on your show. The fact that Marine Drive, iconic as it is, will not look the same now, this generation onwards, thanks to all the
and nobody even knows it's called the Queen's Necklace.
That's all gone. So I'm saying maybe you can do, because 60s, 70s, 80s Hindi films, right up to I think Amar Akbar Anthony, a song sequence, etc. They've used that Queen's Necklace, they've used Marine Drive.
Tell me Amitabh Bachchan's famous song on a motorbike on Marine Drive.
Muqaddar Ka Sikandar. Now say sorry to me.
Why?
Just say it anyway. Because you think you can flex because you have little knowledge of Hindi films.
Which is the song?
Because I will destroy you.
Which is the song?
Muqaddar Ka Sikandar.
Correct.
Title track.
Yeah.
Idiot.
Sing it, no?
Hey, Muqaddar! Right, no? Right or not? Somewhat right. So I'll tell you a story about motorbikes.
Okay.
So we were doing a special show for his food show where we basically had to do like Jai Viru kind of moment on the bike. For those who don't know from
on a scooter.
On a scooter.
With a sidecar.
With a sidecar. And so that the reference was all correct, and we came to Gateway of India to shoot it. And it's his show, he's the hero. So I was in the sidecar and he's supposed to be riding it. And then there's dialogue going on. The Ye Dosti kind of feeling without the song. And then he tells the producer he doesn't know how to ride a scooter. This is the kind of person I work with.
Like
Century of stories. This story must go in.
You can ride a scooter?
Yeah, I can ride. There's a movie called 99. I'm riding a bike with Soha Ali Khan at my back in a song sequence. It goes on for 4 minutes.
On a low loader.
And I've just done a show with her where she's accepted that she and I got lost because she kept saying keep going forward. And then we didn't know where we were without a phone.
You weren't on the low loader?
No. So you watch the movie. Watch 99. It'll be on Century of Stories coming soon where I'm on the bike. And let me tell you, I went at full pace. Yamaha 125 speed I touched, 120. Unbelievable. I felt great.
Soha Ali Khan has lived to tell the tale.
Yeah, she remembers it. We just shot something and she reminded me about the whole thing. So, in your face, in your face, in your face, in your... How many coughs, Tata? 7 coughs. 7 coughs, not bad. 8? And before we reach century of stories, we may reach century of coughs. So let's see how it works. Yeah.
Another story that we did was very interesting. Ravi Shastri is winning that Audi.
Yeah.
It was
85 Champion of Champions.
No, we'd never heard of that car before. An Audi. Today, the Audi is on the road everywhere. And it's a memory that even for a non-cricket watcher like me is etched in my memory.
85, 86, the Benson Hedges.
Where he took the rounds and rounds of this thing. So tell us about that.
It was the biggest prize that for an Indian team, I don't know, subcontinental team, I don't know if Australians in their Benson Hedges had cars. I'm trying to remember that. We'll do some research and find out. But for us, like you said, back in 85, 86, that was huge. And he brought it back, huh? And he was very proudly driving it on the streets of Worli where his new flat was, etc. So Ravi Shankar Jaidev Shastri, one of my favorite cricketers, 80 test matches for India, made lots of centuries, batted from 1 to 11 almost in the test team, and of course left arm spinner is how he started his career. But that the World Championship, which is just after the World Cup, 83 was World Cup, it was 85, he was a standout. He opened the batting with Chris Srikanth, and he bowled as well as, and was good in the field, everything, and he was the most valuable player, and so he wins this wonderful thing. And took rounds of the Melbourne cricket ground with it, etc., and then brought it back. So I think we were all very proud. And nobody knew about duty. I think they waived the duty then. Later on, I don't know.
They did.
Yeah, they waived the duty because it was 300%. So if the car was worth, let's say, 1 crore, you'd have to pay like almost 3 crores, which would be like... So, but great moment in Indian cricket.
Also...
And you know, that's the series where the famous fight between Javed Miandar and Kiran More. 1 second.
I don't know about
There's a fellow Mareez here. We just have to call the doctor. The famous fight where he imitates Kiran More. Kiran More keeps shouting and chirping while he's batting. So Javed loses it. And because he jumps a lot, Kiran More, he mimics him jumping in a mocking way. Nearly led to a major fight. But those are good days. I love India-Pakistan sledging.
Good days in the sense, and I'm going to be killed for saying this.
Why?
But you had a cigarette sponsor for a series.
But you know, honestly, Benson and Hedges, Australia themselves stopped it first. They had a cigarette sponsor, but the wokeness of the 80s and 90s, more 90s I think, happened first in the West, then here. Pakistan's Wills trophy continued for a little longer. Wills was their big sponsor. ITC Wills. So
we also have Wills something?
We did, but we have mixed sponsors. Pakistan's big sponsor was Wills. Australia's big sponsor was Benson and Hedges. See, you're making me think like today you've done a very good job. You're bringing out the old memories.
So, in the Garhwal area, there was a movement for tree felling called the Chipko
Against
movement. Against tree felling.
Yeah.
Called the Chipko movement.
Right.
And while I had heard of the Chipko movement...
When you said for tree felling, I was just thinking that we may have lived in a world where people are actually saying Madu tree ko. I'm just thinking,
we grew up hearing of the Chipko movement, but I didn't know exactly what had happened till we did this episode in Century of Stories. And this Chipko movement is how the women of the area went against the big lumber mafia by just going and hugging the trees and not moving from there. So they literally chipcowed to the trees.
Again, not to make light of the issue, but that means if I was in Garhwal and pretended to be a tree, I would finally get a date.
I thought you were funnier than that, but it's okay.
I thought you were alive. I'm like talking to a patient on his last legs.
Yeah, it's all right. Okay, funny. But so that is what. And to be named, for a whole movement to be named after the action of chipkowing to a tree is, I thought, quite interesting.
Okay. That's very good. Do you have any other stories? You seem exhausted.
Now your turn.
Yeah. Okay, so we had, let's see, in cricket, I'll tell you stories that I want to do, which we haven't done yet, which I just, we did. Some of the forgotten test innings. There was Vishwanath's 97 at Chepauk. This is when you were a young man, which you should have known about this. Andy Roberts on a wicket which was here and there and fast pace for India. He makes 97 and nobody else scores runs and he bats with the tail. And just square cuts Andy Roberts, just plays in that 1/3 arc. That's it. But he didn't really play the hook. So we also get some of the best test innings. And it's very debatable in India. You always have this. And I love these conversations because this is how you... Kunal, remember when we used to go out for parties and you'd get bored? Because I'd find 3 guys and we'd discuss cricket. These are the kind of conversations we'd have. Correct. What do you think are the best 3 batting innings you've ever seen? Best 3 by an Indian, best 5 by an Indian, best 4 in ODI, best 4 outside India, best 4 in the second innings, that kind of thing. So those who are crazy about the game, they understand what I'm talking about. We love this. And the Indian mind, Aryabhatta is our grandfather, we love statistics and numbers. So we love all this. But then there's also the permutations and combinations of the kind of hardship you have when you make that innings. So like Lakshman's 281, they had followed on against Australia, and then he and Dravid make those huge contribution against the run of play to make their, that innings come alive. Chepauk, Vishwanath's 97 I just mentioned. Gavaskar's 96 is his last innings at Bangalore. Turning wicket, Iqbal Qasim at his best. I mean, unplayable. Only Gavaskar could read the spin and read the length. Unbelievable. What? How good a batsman that was. I mean, please, ladies and gentlemen, number one test batsman India has produced. I will die saying it, Sunil Manohar Gavaskar. I feel I'm more passionate about my subject than you are of yours.
No, that's possible.
I need you to.
Possible,
I want to ignite your passion. I am going to press a button.
We've been three men in a bar, also discussing numbers, number one, number two, number three, which is the best butter chicken in the country. We are in the middle of a humongous argument. It's a court case going on. And who
correct.
invented the butter chicken?
Yeah.
I don't think the results have come
Between
out
the
yet.
Moti Mahal guys and
the Deragaj guys, yeah.
Ah.
So, and I don't want to take sides because I don't know who invented the butter chicken, honestly.
Yeah.
But it's a thing that you and I have discussed. Which is your favorite butter chicken?
Yeah. But for me, personally speaking, I think Suresh, who works here, he invented the butter chicken.
Why?
He's super. That guy's too good. You look around the room and ask them anything.
He's an inventor.
Yeah, he's just, and it's not one thing. It's not just food. His skills are everywhere. It could be that first R.D. Burman music collection which he put on his dad's name, that could have been Suresh. Also, he's that good. He's just everywhere. For me, I want to do 100 stories only on Suresh at some point.
Okay.
IDFC First Bank. Okay, we'll take a quick break and then come back with lots more stories. Kunal Vijayakar, Century of Stories.
Hey, it's been another great week on the IVM Podcasts Network. On A Century of Stories, Kunal tells the story of the amazing comeback of the Indian boxing legend Mary Kom. Find out why she's called Magnificent Mary and uncover her journey from setbacks to incredible victories. On The Habit Coach, Ashton Doctor tells us about the game-changing 7-minute scientific workout that revolutionized his approach to exercise. Discover how this easy-to-follow routine can seamlessly fit into your lifestyle. Folks, if you like our shows, spread the word, tell your friends, and don't forget to rate and review them wherever you're listening to them. Follow us on social media. We are IVM Podcasts on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. You'll also find all our shows on youtube.com/IVM Podcasts. And finally, we would like to thank our sponsors this week: Omidyar Network India, IDFC First Bank, and ICICI Prudential Mutual Fund. Thank you for making this possible.
Yeah, so another interesting story is the first Indian Miss World.
Indian Miss World, as in Miss World from India.
From India.
Yeah.
From first Miss World of India.
And Kunal dated her, so we know it's true.
No, I didn't, but I actually did meet her. Rita Faria.
Yeah.
Never wanted to have anything to do with the fashion business. So just a fluke. Studying to be a doctor. She continued being a doctor.
Where was she
also.
from?
She was from Mumbai.
Oh, not Mumbai.
Mumbai.
Okay.
Mumbai.
Huh.
And
So she was studying to be a medical doctor, and then she got into
And
the
for a
Miss
lark-
India pageant, then the Miss World.
Yeah, and then got to the Miss World, and
she won Miss
it.
World.
She won it.
So well
in
before
France.
Priyanka Chopra and gang started winning all the titles.
So with the Miss World title comes a lot of responsibilities that you are contracted for a year to do all that.
Yeah.
And so she did all that she was required to do, and then went back to doing her medicine.
I dated 2 Miss Worlds in the early 2000s. But I want to brag. And didn't sort of work out.
They won the Miss World? Or
They had already won.
Oh, really?
That's why I dated them. I'm a bit matlabi like that. You have to have some status. Mere saath, Habib sir will confirm. Yeah. But let me tell you a very interesting cricket story. Again, someone you know. And you don't know much about his cricket, but very interesting man, because the rest of me you'd like a lot. Very well dressed, well turned out. Urdu poetry. Fantastic at it. And he loses his eye in the middle of his career. Tiger Patowdi, Mansur Ali Khan. And then he comes back. That's a fantastic story. He comes back and plays international cricket and scores runs and everything else with one eye, which is just unbelievable. And there's a story there. He comes back pretty quickly in under a year. So the English press, because he's playing against England, the English press even asks Tiger, why are you rushing back into cricket with just the one eye? Are you sure you're ready for it? So he said, have you seen the state of your bowlers? It's great. Yeah. And those are the guys whose banter, cricket banter, the sledging, what they call today, there's more banter and more, repartee sort of thingy, which I love listening to. We want to do one only on those stories of, quick comebacks. There are plenty. Some of them are a little below the belt, but they're still funny. And some of them, the vegetarian ones, are the ones we're going to show you. For now.
And unfortunately, now he'll be known as Taimur's grandfather.
Yeah. Not to me.
Yeah.
To me, he's always Tiger. For your generation, you young influencers, no? You Gen Z types, you misbehave.
You decide. Am I old or am I young? You can't just, what the
No,
beginning
but
of the interview
even
call me
Shakespeare,
100
Seven
years old.
Stages of Man, you go back to being a stupid, regressive child. So you're reaching that point
Which
where
you haven't yet.
Well, I'll have to hold you like kunu come on kunu doodh ka time aa gaya. Yeah. And he'll be like, doodh nahi bhaiya, I want butter chicken. He'll still be saying that. Yeah.
Okay, we've got the Olympics coming up in
But even if
Paris.
we've got like, how does it matter to you? Don't you lie to me. Yeah.
Always, when I say
Where was the last Olympics?
The last Olympics was in...
Tick 1, tick
1
2,
minute, I forgot,
tick
man.
3, tick 4, tick
Where was the last
5,
Olympics?
tick 6, tick 7. I'll give you a guess. Where does Honda come from?
Japan.
Very good.
Japan.
Has it in him?
Tokyo.
Now don't show off. Suddenly great knowledge aa gaya. मेरे पास शहर का नाम भी आ गया.
See, in 4 years, I
You're
tend
making
to forget
Toto laugh. He
things.
never laughs at our show. Today he's laughed so much.
I forget things in 4 years.
Doesn't matter. But it's good.
But
because-
I know that they're happening in Paris this time.
Yeah.
And so we're doing some specials on the Olympics.
Right.
Especially PT Usha.
Yeah.
And
I think she came fourth in a famous race. She and Milka both
Yeah,
just
Milka
missed the bronze.
We did an
back in
episode
the
on
day.
Milka Singh also.
Yeah.
Also, Milka never
Did you
won.
was it Milka or did you use Farhan?
No, Milka.
Okay.
Milka. Farhan Akhtar, we do?
No.
on his father?
Don't digress. Stay on the topic. Right. So Milka, these are all legends.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Any story on Milka you want to tell us?
Bindra and...
Abhinav Bindra, gold medalist first
Gold
before Neeraj
medalist
Chopra,
first.
single
Yeah.
gold medalist. Yeah.
but these are episodes to look forward to because of the Olympics coming up.
Right. Can you name anybody else who was a silver medalist in 56? Yeah. Yes, Jadhav, wrestling.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think from my area, from Pune, somewhere in this area. Abhay sir's cousin. Yeah. So we've had a few people, everyone doesn't remember. In wrestling, we've always had a tradition. In weightlifting, we have chances of, I think, 3 medals at least in Paris right now as we speak. Shooting, we've always got people in the game. So shooting, weightlifting, hockey, of course, we are ranked 3 or 4 right now. So always a chance there. Males, not girls. There's plenty of very interesting things. Because I think this time we're going to do, in terms of medals haul, I think we could cross 10, which will be fantastic, I think. Maybe even a little more than that. But let's not say anything. Let's see how it pans out. Will you be at Paris at the Olympics?
Shall we go to Paris, you say?
What is the date?
No? For the Olympics?
Next, you'll start singing an evening in Paris. Stop now while we're ahead. All right. So we've done on cricket, speaking of Paris and contemporary cricket, we can't leave out that huge 3-letter word which is at the back of our head all the time, the IPL. So we talked about how it was formed. Very few people, I don't want to give everything away, but very few people know that Piyush Pandey, the legendary, probably the greatest advertising person of all time, you're from the ad fraternity, along with Lalit Modi. Can you talk like Lalit?
Lalit Modi, yes.
So for Lalit and Piyush and Arun Lal.
Arun Lal,
who made
yes.
60 runs on debut in both innings with Gavaskar as an opener and should have played longer for India in Test cricket. Didn't. And he and Piyush are best friends, grew up together, same school, etc., etc. So they're all great friends, and they designed this and had this idea and approached the BCCI long before everybody else, and probably don't get enough credit. And this is a true thing. We've sort of studied it. So watch that episode. And we're trying to get him at some point. We'll get Piyush to talk or Arun Lal.
You had Piyush on one of your things.
No.
Oh, you didn't?
We had Piyush Jha, Piyush Shankar, a couple of Piyushes who work here, but that's it. But we will get him. We'll get you Piyush sooner or later. Was wicketkeeper himself. Pretty good player, Rajasthan.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Arun Lal and him were great
Classmates.
buddies. Yep. So that's my story about the growth of the IPL and where does it actually start from. Lalit Modi has to be given his due. He was a fantastic mind who came up with everything. And he's just been pushed to the side. I won't get into that. Prithvi will investigate and find out part 2, what happened, why the ball was dropped, why he's stuck in London and not part of the IPL fraternity. But that you have to check out more stories from Century of
Cricket.
Very good.
So we also, speaking of JRD Tata and Air India and all that.
So,
Yeah.
JRD?
So the way they were, the way Jamshedji Tata, the Doyen, the fellow who started the whole Tata empire, how they created Tata Nagar at Jamshedpur. So it's probably the only at that point of
So
time.
technically Tata Nagar is a part of Jamshedpur now.
Yeah.
But not the whole thing.
Yeah.
First of all, the name was Tata Nagar for Jamshedpur. But
yes,
now part of
but that
Tata-
whole part was named after Jamshedji Tata. That's why it became Jamshedpur.
Right.
And now there's Tatanagar is part of it.
Oh, excellent. I've never been. We've been invited many times, but you have to go via Ranchi, and it's a longish
Or
journey.
Calcutta.
Or
a
Calcutta.
private plane
Calcutta,
from
3-4 hour drive after that. Oh, no, plane to Ranchi again and drive after that.
So we did a story on Century of Stories
Right.
on the advent of television in India, how it started as black and white. Then during
Asian Games.
Rajiv Gandhi's period, it became.
My first
went
TV was a
colour.
Western TV, WESTON. Do you remember
My
the
first TV was a Telirad.
No, but bro, you're talking about pre-independence. I'm talking about for normal people back in the 80s or whatever it was.
That is, TV came to
82.
Mumbai at the same time. I might have been
No,
older,
we
you
got
might have
it, I
been younger,
remember.
but it came the same year.
I know how much it cost also.
How much?
7,500 rupees.
You are rich people, I
No,
must
because
say.
my dad and I fought for every rupee to come down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we had Mumbai Doordarshan in Mumbai, Delhi Doordarshan in Delhi,
Yeah.
and I think the news was common, but programming was all local and
Is it true that Kunal, as a young man, you wanted to be a newscaster
yeah, I loved reading off a teleprompter, that's why.
and wearing a sari?
No, why? They were not male newscasters or what?
How he kills comedy.
Yeah.
I can't allow him in public. All right. Lovely story, but very interesting. But you didn't tell us about the 90s, because then it suddenly goes into a huge spurt. And we have privatization of channels and all that.
Yeah.
That changed the game completely. And you were on it
completely
in a show called Baat Ban Jaye back in 95, 96.
Correct. Yeah, the whole system was different. In those days, if you were a TV producer, you had to buy a slot from Doordarshan.
Yeah.
And once you bought the slot,
your
you
problem.
could do whatever you
You have
wanted.
to advertise, find the
You
advertising,
advertise,
everything else. Yeah.
And then when private television came in, with Z being the first, if I'm not mistaken, they were commissioning work.
Right.
Which is interesting. But all the good work that was done in those days was on Doordarshan. And the people who did work for Doordarshan were the top of the bracket, like starting from the Sham Benegals to the Ramesh Sippy.
All this is available on Century of Stories.
Yeah.
Or something
that
that
story,
leads
yeah.
you into all this. Excellent. This is a good story. This is one of the stories I like, actually. The birth and the advent of
television.
Yeah, it's a little similar to cricket.
And
Indian
for a
cricket
long time,
galloped.
it remained a government propaganda mouthpiece. But slowly, it found its own voice with privatization.
Yeah, now I want to just tie it to cricket here again because the evolution, as I was trying to say, but you wouldn't stop talking, of cricket, which came along at the same time as the television revolution in a sense, because we grew with that 87 World Cup, which was held here in India. We suddenly went to another level. You know, the Reliance World Cup, I don't know if you remember it.
I do.
That was the first big one. And then from there, no looking back, within 7-8 years, we had taken over the market. By the mid-90s to late 90s, we were the 96, the second World Cup year, we were out of control. And now it's literally the countries call up India and say, boss, can we play against you to make some money and also that, we earn some money. It's like that. I'm not even kidding. This is actually true. This is almost the way it is. So we've done a whole thing about World Cups, T20 World Cups, and the advent of World Cups and how we've done and et cetera, et cetera. Of course, this is statistical information is there, but we try to find little stories which are interesting about individuals.
On your cricket, you did the Ajit Wadegar team win also?
No, we'll do. We're 100% going to do the 71. We've not done as much red ball as I want to because I'm a red ball freak. Unfortunately or fortunately, we got into the IPL season as we started. So T20 was right there and the World Cup is going on.
Yeah, and to finish my conversation on the advent of private
Evolution, the
television,
growth, the rise, the escalation.
The biggest escalation that happened is because of two people. Samir Nair, who was heading Star Plus.
Yes.
Ekta Kapoor, who started Kyunki Saas Bhi Kabhi Bahu Thi.
And Samir Nair is your friend.
Samir Nair, yes, he's my friend. And he brought Who Wants to Be a Millionaire and brought Amitabh Bachchan, convinced him to host the show.
Masterstroke.
Masterstroke, which was not convinced. Bachchan was not convinced at all.
Bachchan sir.
Mr. Bachchan was not convinced
Mr. Bachchan
at
sir.
all. No.
Who kaun hai?
He
Small
said-
time TV actor. That's Amitabh Bachchan.
So he said, "Can I visit the sets of the show
The
in the
English
UK,
American,
in
yeah.
the UK, and let me see how it is done."
Yeah.
So Samir Nair took him onto the set of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and Bachchan said, "If you can replicate it exactly the way they've done it here,
With the same questions, which are basically
technologically,
British-based, yeah.
technologically, music-wise, and everything, then I'll do it." And they did that, and that is how Star Plus.
And that was fantastic. I mean, think about that,
Yeah.
because we are big. I'm a huge Amitabh Bachchan fan. We grew up on the movies, etc. But angry young man and all that. But then he sort of reinvented himself. He went into the music space also with Ear Beer and all that. And then he came back with this. So there's a whole generation who thinks of him as this wise schoolmaster type of guy.
He was down, out and in debt.
Yeah.
Okay, and stories are that he actually went up to Yash Chopra and asked for work.
Right.
And this happened.
Why did he come to me?
Because Cyrus, what were you doing at that point
But
of
I
time?
got an open heart, yaar.
What are you doing now?
Dil wala.
This.
I'm so proud to be associated with you.
And and that changed his life because KBC paid off all his debts.
Right.
Television
And
took
more.
another,
And more.
And
then
television-
reality TV really started rocking. And reality TV, if you look at the genesis and trace it, the first actual reality TV anything was in 1999 in April. And the person who brought that to Indian television has not been given his due. I'll show you the person's face.
Yeah.
That's right. The show called Bakra.
Bakra.
First
I know
reality
what you-
TV show. And we've not been given. I am waiting. I've called up the government of India. I've called up lines in the east and the west. I've asked for all three simultaneously. Padma Shri, Bhushan, Vibhushan.
Okay.
All three.
Bharat Ratna?
No, wo baad mein. That you have to reach a point for that, yaar. I need to do more. I feel I've not done enough.
Okay.
But with this century of stories and century of cricket, I feel we can go there.
Okay.
And when you go to double century or triple century, then Bharat Ratna is waiting for us. Not us, me.
Bharat Ratna.
But I'll take you. You can make fun. You can come with me. I mean, I'll have to put you in a wheelchair by then, but what the hell? As long as you're a supporter. All right, let's talk a little bit about how we make these, because people don't understand what we do. It looks really easy. You're just talking to camera. But the kind of work that goes in my case, me alone doing everything, writing everything, lighting everything, putting the cameras out, talking to the camera, editing. So I'm like the Kapil Dev, stroke Hardik Pandya, stroke Vinu Mankad of a podcast because I do everything. But you also contribute to your show a little bit.
We have a team. Unlike your
we have a
show,
team.
which is single-handedly done by you.
Single-handedly, beta.
We have a wonderful team which does a lot of research. Okay, bring a lot of hard work. Scripts goes up and down.
Yeah.
So that we
Subject
get the right.
choosing is a huge issue. Even with us on our cricket stories,
Yeah.
we always fight over the subjects. Not fight, but there's little arguments sometimes. Is it relevant, not relevant, etc. And for me, sometimes not relevant is very relevant because that's the whole issue, right? That's why we're trying to revive things with century of cricket or century of stories. Because for people, otherwise, you're just pushing stories out of the way sometimes because you think they're irrelevant. But nothing is. Everything
irrelevant.
is interesting.
I still think a story should be at the back of your mind, and you should be reminded of the story again. Because all the stories about our country, unless you've not really lived your life properly, you will know. You would have heard of. Your parents might have told you the story. You might have learned it in school. But with age, you forget the story, and this is one great way of taking you back to what you've already learnt and what actually makes this country what it is, stories.
I totally disagree with you because I personally feel, thank you for listening. I personally feel that all the stories can be retold. You have to just find the more human factor or interesting anecdotes which make the stories very interesting.
Fair enough.
For example, if I go back to 71 and I'm telling the Ajit Wadekar story, I don't have to just say just the best statistics or that, that Oval Test match and Chandrasekhar. I mean, that everybody will know. So that part is done. But what about the night before? That final day where he gets all the wickets and all. What went through the dinner or the discussion or something happened in the evening. Those kind of stories that we have to unearth. And hence we have a great team of people like Kriti and Prithvi and Abhay sir and Ayush who's just joined us and it's probably not going to last till Sunday, and Toto. So all these guys come into, and I've got lots of writers also who I don't want to name them because they start becoming arrogant. All contributing. So I'm saying even the old stories, the repeat stories can still be fantastic if we find more human factor, nice moments, anecdotal moments that will surprise the person because they don't know about this. Like the Patowdi story I just told you, if you remember, where he makes fun of the bowling attack. It's a legendary story. So he came back. He played with one eye. He was captain, etc. But did you know that he had this whimsical way, irreverence? He was very funny. He's a very funny man, very well-read man, very interesting guy, very good-looking fellow, very sophisticated, and he was my hero. He still is. Tiger.
Okay, so we've gone through prime ministers in this country, and the most enigmatic prime minister that we've had, because he was also a poet, is Atal Bihari Vajpayee. And that's a story that we did. We traced the beginnings of him from the RSS all the way up to becoming one of the oldest members of parliament, longest running members of parliament.
And I'm not mistaken, doctorate in English literature.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sanskrit scholar.
Or MA in English literature. Sanskrit scholar.
Yeah.
And spoken Sanskrit at the UN. For the
Correct.
first time. Everybody was stunned what was happening out there at that time. He's quite the guy. Do you know I've met him?
So have I.
How? You tell your story.
So, and this is a very interesting story because I went to see a play
Right.
at the Experimental Theatre.
Right.
And I walked into the loo at the interval to pee. And the man who came and stood next to me was Atal Bihari Vajpayee. And he had come to see the play.
So I could go with so many things here, but I'll just skip.
But
quiet.
it's true. It's not, I'm not making it up.
Yeah.
This is a true story.
My story is more romantic. I was at some India Today conclave thingy with MTV. They'd invited us and we were covering things. And all these big shots were there. It's about 15, 20 years ago. And he was there. And then my producers all said, let's go and meet him, try and get a quick bite. Which of course we couldn't get because there's just too many people around him. But we got to meet him and he was like, Beta, kya karta hai? So I said, MTV mein. MTV kya hai? So I explained a little bit, did my best. And bahut acha, bahut badhiya. And he gave me a shabash on the back and all that. And I walked off. Now keep in mind I was wearing black and white because I had only one suit. I still have only one suit. And the catering staff was like that. 2 minutes later I passed and his hand goes up and he says, Beta, pani pila do. I'm not joking. It's just like, I felt like quitting, bro. I was like, I was going to tell this story to everyone, Mr. Vajpayee called me, we spoke and all that. And so that was the
Although
story.
when I did meet him, he wasn't yet Prime Minister.
Yeah.
Or he was in
But people
between
say his
Prime
best days were before he was Prime Minister, but he was a great orator. And look at his talking style has been sort of handed down. Like Amitabh Bachchan's performance style or delivery style has been copied by generations.
So if you
Even our present Prime Minister has a very close, that three-way, that 1, 2, 3 way of talking.
more than that, you would rather take a pause in your speech than go, instead of, you see a lot of people who give speeches, they may not take long pauses, but they stutter, mutter. This man never, it's like, I'm taking a pause, but I'm going to plan what I'm saying next and I'm going to say it, And that is
Or
what
there
he
may be
did.
streams of consciousness and you don't have to plan,
whatever.
it just comes out.
But
I'm
there
not a
was
big fan of
so
the plan
much
thing. I don't think it really
clarity,
happens like that.
even after the long pauses, there was so much clarity in his speech.
Yeah. And if you want to see the stutter butter and all that, coughing, etc., watch this episode where you see two clowns absolutely portraying the wrong way to speak. But yeah, so that's Vajpayee.
Yeah. Also, in the history of India, I think what has been claimed as the best peace process between India and Pakistan ever attempted.
Musharraf and Vajpayee.
Yeah, the train, the bus,
correct. Yeah.
everything that he's ever
And they
tried.
visited the countries, each other's countries, etc., which now seems an impossibility.
Correct.
Right now.
Yeah.
So Vajpayee probably will go down as one of the best prime ministers in the terms of where India was, foreign relations wise, and
Correct.
also economically we're on the right track, more or
Yeah.
less.
Let's start with cinema, Hindi cinema. Mehboob Khan making Mother India.
Mehboob Studio.
Yes, he owned Mehboob Studio, the
There you
one
go.
that is in Bandra in Mumbai.
Like Alexander the Great, you name things after yourself. Always leaves a mark.
Yeah, but Alexander Theatre in Nagpada was not named by Alexander.
It was.
himself.
It was. He came
Himself.
all the way down to Mumbai.
Himself
Or
came all the
Bombay,
way-
as you called it.
He came to Nagpada.
Huh.
He must
It
have
wasn't
been a
called
naughty
Nagpada.
boy then.
It was called North Macedonia in those days. Please go ahead. I don't want to break your flow. Huh.
No, so Mehboob Khan.
Wow.
We have a wonderful story
Be
of
patient,
Mehboob Khan
listener. Be patient. Yeah.
and Mother India. How Sunil Dutt and Nargis fell in love during that movie. He being much younger than her at that point of time. And Rajkumar. Correct, no? Rajkumar is Rajkumar only, yes. Rajkumar.
When you say correct and look around, who are you talking to?
I'm talking to the camera.
It's like
to the
ghosts of the past.
To the audience to say.
Huh.
Yeah, so that's a great story also that we're doing. Alamara, the first talkie.
Who was in it? Oh. Did you know John Kavas the Parsi was the first famous actor? He was a Bawa.
Yes.
In the silent era.
Yeah, but even Alamara was produced by a
Saurabh-
Parsi.
Who?
Adeshir Irani.
Tell us about Amitabh Bachchan, the growth of arguably the most iconic character in the history of Indian cinema.
Well, the credit of the angry young man goes to Salim
Salim
Javed. In a role that was rejected by everybody. We've not done an episode, but the episode coming up. But Zanjeer, where he got the label of angry young man, was rejected by Devanand,
Although,
Rajkumar.
wasn't that shot after like Sholay and a couple of others?
No. Zanjeer was his first...
But released later.
No, it was his first release was Saath Hindustani,
Okay.
and he had a couple of flops after that, Parwana and all
Abhiman and all win.
that. Abhiman much later on.
Oh.
Abhiman, he was a big star by then.
Oh.
Zanjeer had hit the big
Can you get
time.
Amitabh Bachchan on our show? Century. He loves cricket, so Century of Cricket, he can come here, and then we can use that same episode for you guys.
I
Could
think
you
it's a
put
good
in a
idea.
word?
Well, I'll go on Sunday and stand outside the door there.
Right. Okay.
And maybe he'll come.
Okay, and then once you confirm it, just give us a call. But I want to give a shout out to IDFC First Bank, who's promoting all this. Without them, we can't do anything. Let's say they are our parents. And because of them, we are reviving culture. The Sanskriti and Parampara of this country is coming alive again, thanks to their foresighted vision.
Correct.
We have to thank them. We hope brands understand when they do things like this, we leave something behind which is meaningful. Now, maybe not
Absolutely.
me particularly, but the topic that we're talking about, meaningful,
Yeah.
very often.
No, and somebody has to do it, and in a form that is easily biteable, easily listenable, and which is, sort of today's language and way.
Yeah.
So yes, IDFC First Bank is doing what. See, also what happens, putting my advertising hat on, when the brand is a leader and a big brand, then they can afford to do this kind of stuff, and that is what they should be doing. Is that you do activities which are like leader-like activities, and this is exactly
And
that.
speaking from a cricket point of view, I am very worried that the famous heroes, there are cricketers in the current team or in Ranji teams or even in club teams who don't know who a Vishwanath is, for example, Gundappa Vishwanath. We had a girl on a podcast who didn't know who Kapil Dev was. And I find that sinful. So what applies for cricket can apply for India as well. When you talk of great moments of India and you have no idea, you can't tell X from Y or this, architecture from that or this period from this or this movement from that. And that's just ridiculous that just basic knowledge is missing. Of course, there's Google, so you can find out later. So we're also hoping that old people like yourself,
But
and
Google,
slightly
you
old
have
people
to
like
know
myself.
what to search for also, no?
True. So that's why we're here. We are initiating discussion in people's minds so that they can then take it further to learn more. That's the whole idea. For me, cricket, I want to keep cricket alive because our stories are fantastic. I hope one day to do more than India. Because for me, it's humanity. It's a sport for the world. And it goes across race, religion after some time when you truly love the sport. And as we end, you've got a lovely tale of romance.
No,
Leprosy.
Well, that's not how I would have put it. But a lot of things happen in this country which has not been driven by government. Okay, a lot of social work has happened in this country. Which
You
has
sound
not
like
been
the angry
driven
young
by
man
government.
now. Yeah.
And there are great people who have created change. People like Vinoba Bhave and his big cow movement. And Baba Amte and his movement for the
Awareness.
eradication or the awareness and acceptance of leprosy.
Yeah.
So, and these are the kind of stories that we carry in Century of Stories.
And again, we're going so fast. Again, cricket reference, T20 cricket goes so fast, you forget the heroes of before.
Correct.
I'm very worried about that. How do you keep the heroes alive?
Because when we were young, Baba Amte was something in our consciousness.
And it was in every
Okay,
book, civics and history
absolutely,
book.
yes.
But I have to warn you, even now, I was downstairs at the Panwala and I asked him, Cyrus Brocha kaun hai? He didn't have an idea. This guy was hardly 30, 32. You don't laugh, Tata, I can hear you from here. So I was a little unimpressed. So I'm saying we want to
So
keep
which generation remembers Cyrus Brocha?
the August, July of last year. That's about it. But the point being that you want to keep people alive in the nation's mind and the world's mind. For me, from a cricketing perspective, but again, it's the same thing beyond cricket. As you mentioned, Baba Amte or whatever. We want to keep all these things alive. Okay, as we come to the end of this, I've got a lovely story which I want to share, which is we got to interact with the Mumbai Indians team, thanks to IDFC First Bank. And I got to meet Jasprit Bumrah, arguably the best bowler in all conditions across the world in all forms of cricket. I got to meet Surya Kumar Yadav, who's ranked number 1 in T20 as we speak, as a batsman. And I got to meet Ishan Kishan, who's out of the team right now, but supremely talented with the fastest double century by an Indian in
India.
It was nothing. One day internationals. Anyway, that's not the point. The point is that I had these experiences, and we're going to give you a link to the description below to all these stories if you want to catch up and see where we were, what we are talking about. I talk too fast. He's a little, here and there. But end of the day, everything is there. You can link in, find out, check out, and then go and check out our stories. Mine are centuries of cricket. Yours are century of
Stories.
That's it.